Hey,
Tell
I'm
us
half. I'm
Maine.
half from the South, and I'm
He's
more
not
than
from the
happy.
South. He's got, what do you say, Virginia?
Yeah, Southern Virginia,
Hey,
about 10 miles from the border of North Carolina, actually.
Kentucky, for you history buffs out there, because I'm kind of enrolled in the history of Kentucky and former historical research assistant here, the big brain. I used to work on a Kentucky historical research project, and Kentucky was actually an annexation of the state of Virginia, and we actually had a relationship similar to the relationship between the United States and Britain with Virginia. So, like taxation without representation. I could probably do a whole podcast about that. JD, I'm so excited to have you. You guys, if you're not familiar with Mayhem Media, and if you want to go ahead and drop that in the chat, my man, please do that. Make sure that you go and follow these guys. They have, not only do they cover wrestling, but they also cover really amazing and fun pop culture topics. It's not just limited to wrestling. And I'm not going to shout out the whole team, but I do just want to touch on. I mean, I try not to play favorites, but I am a big Jesse James fan because
Oh,
he just has a voice like butter. And of course, you have Mr. Connor Clarkson. Very
yep,
big fan of his. My
yep.
cat would like to make an appearance. Oh my gosh. Tell everybody how much you love Jesse James and Connor Clarkson. Do you love them? Are you a big fan? Do you like Mayhem Media too? Yes. Yeah, I like Mayhem Media. Everybody's hello. He's made his entrance. He is wanting to check everybody out. But yeah, guys, we were having so much fun talking and um, getting caught up and having a little bit of podcast, a one-on-one. We were like, man, oh my god, it's almost 10 o'clock. We haven't started live yet, but man, that's just how it goes sometimes. So I'm so glad to have you on the show. And last week I had to blow some steam off about some really dumb shit that's not important at all. I can't stress that enough. How
It is
non
so unimportant. It is
was.
so. The
It's
average Joe,
ridiculously
the
unimportant.
average, if I can, the average Joe just doesn't understand what it takes to have loyalty and be able to run a successful show. And haters, everybody's got them, and that's how I like to refer to haters on our podcast on Mayhem Media. We refer to them as the average Joes.
They
So
are less than the average Joe, even.
yeah, that's that, and so that's and you're gonna have them. That's just the way that comes with success.
Yeah. It's almost, JD, it is almost as bad, if I may, it is almost as bad as somebody that is as pretty and as intelligent as I am having a private conversation with a former champion. Private conversation, I'm going to say it again, private conversation, booking conversation with someone and then just waltzing right up all willy-nilly and then handing them a keychain that, by the way, looks like a poker chip
Swag.
with initials of your podcast on it. How unprofessional, but we are not going to talk about that tonight because nobody cares.
No.
It is so uneventful that nobody gives a shit. I would rather talk about wrestling.
Yes, let's talk about wrestling, and if you don't mind, I'd also like to mention to everybody, since you were nice enough, we are actually live streaming this right now to all of Calamity Jayne's channels, including the Nice Guy Andy podcast, Pro Wrestling World, and to our Mayhem YouTube and Facebook channels. So we're reaching everywhere tonight with our co-streams. So this is awesome because I did not anticipate this. That's why I did not advertise it that it was going to be on the Mayhem page. I mentioned to Calamity Jayne that StreamYard had this feature, and she was like, "Yeah, do it. Let's get more viewers." So I'm like, "All right."
I got I got about 2,000 followers, almost right there on my personal page, which I haven't really advertised very much at all. I just changed it recently to Calimity Jayne Official from my real name. And then, of course, over on Nice Guy Andy podcast, we are the largest, guys, listen to me, the largest at 29,000 plus followers, the largest and most successful podcast and wrestling podcast in all of Kentucky, the state of Kentucky, over at the Nice Guy Andy podcast. And then over at Pro Wrestling World, we are an international. Now, we're not the biggest. We're well on our way. 380,000 plus followers over at Pro Wrestling World, not the Pro Wrestling World. Throw that in the trash. Don't like those guys. Don't follow those guys. Pro Wrestling World. You know that you're at the right page because our logo looks like the Ramones logo. It's very nice, very classic, very demure. So head on over there. Check us out. If you're following us from there, drop something in the comments. Let us know that you're checking us out. Man, we got some really cool stuff going on in wrestling. And first, oh my gosh, Smudge, you are so. Do you just want to co-host? Do you just want to come on the show now? Like, what is happening?
That's true. She has not bothered you until we went live. I just want to.
Oh my gosh.
We talked for like an hour or something like that, or however long it's been before the show began. We were just having a nice conversation as people.
Who's that beautiful boy? Look at him. No, Smudge has his own theme song, and his theme song, he'll let me hold him like a baby, actually. I'm just going to be on camera. This is what you have to do. We're going to sell your feet pictures. Anybody wants to buy the feet pictures, the beans, the toe beans?
This is not sanctioned.
$200. This is the premium content. You can only get this at Mayhem Media.
No, maybe we are sanctioning this for $200. Maybe we are sanctioning it. You turned me right around on that.
You can only get this, Mayhem Media.
You turned me right around on that. I was just about to say this is not sanctioned by Mayhem Media, and you were like $200.
Oh, it is. Oh, it is.
$200. Well, maybe it is sanctioned by Mayhem Media.
Those beans.
We don't have the same kind of bragging rights that you have. We don't have that kind of audience yet. We're still a small startup yet, but we do have our own website. www.mayhemmediaproductions.com. So go check that out, and we have our own website. Our content's available there, and we'll be having written articles available soon.
Nice. And you guys ever want a guest writer? I'll be glad to head over and post out a couple of articles for you guys.
I would love to have you as a writer, because one thing I don't want to do, because not everybody has this kind of respect, is I don't want to try and poach you from your team or recruit you. Plus, I've seen your episodes. I know you're loyal, so I would never disrespect you or the Pro Wrestling World or Nice Guy Andy podcast by doing that. But if they don't, I don't think they do written articles. So if you would like to write,
if they will loan me out as a guest for a nominal fee of $2,500. Just kidding. They would love to have me to come on as long as I give them a shout out. It's all totally cool because we here at the Nice Guy Andy podcast, the Pro Wrestling World, and Mayhem Media, we want everybody to win. There's enough for everybody to eat, and no reason for anybody to be bitter or competitive or any of that shit. So, without further ado, I'm going to jump right into talking about last week, actually the Monday, because I dedicated that whole shebang bang to going and going on a big rant about somebody that desperately needed to be called out. I did not get to talk about the amazing experience that was going to Monday Night Raw at Bridgestone Arena in Nashville.
I loved your video on your page about
it. Was nuts. Well, not everybody did, and I'm glad that you liked it. Not everybody got the joke. Not everybody.
No kidding. No kidding. Yeah.
Hey, got my first death threat, you guys. Moving on up in the world, I'm kind of a big deal. Somebody told me to die today. That was great. But yeah, the hard cam side video's got about 10,000 views now. kind of a big thing. But it was a lot of fun, and I had never. I mean, I've been to all kinds of wrestling shows. I've probably only been to a handful of actual like live like WWE shows. And I've been to one AEW show, which was in Lexington, which we went with the Night Sky crew. Absolute blast. I'll talk about that in a minute. But when I went to Nashville, it was a birthday surprise from my friend Brian. And he did not tell me that he bought us floor seats.
Nice.
He absolutely smudged. Hold on, I gotta let smudge out. It's really good, guys. Good content.
Yeah, no problem. I don't.
First time ever having floor seats. It was awesome. Guys, it was amazing. I will say this though. I'm a surprise person. Is anybody else like that? I'm not a surprise gift person. Like if you're like, I'm gonna take you somewhere, but you can't know where it is, I'm gonna say, fuck that, I'm staying at home. Please don't ever do that to me. I hate that. Bobby B. Blazing, what a hell of a name. First of all, I'm jealous. Second of all, thank you for joining us all the way from Sydney, Australia. We were so happy and tickled to have you. Thank you.
JD be blazing also, so I can fully relate, Bobby.
Calimity Jayne wishes she was blazing, but she lives in a state where that is not allowed just yet. But hopefully soon, by God. But man, Raw was so awesome. Had the floor seats, but learned very quickly. And if they had asked me, I could have told them that, hey, maybe don't get a couple of rows back on floor seats. Floor seats are only really awesome if you have like maybe the first couple of rows on floor seats. Could have told them that, but you know, what do I know? Yeah. I wanted to be surprised, and you know, it's the thought that counts.
Yeah,
it's the thought. It's totally the thought that counts. I just wish that I would have known, and I would have dressed completely different. Like I just thought we were gonna have like normal, like up in the stands, so I just wore like jeans and like my hat.
I get lucky when I go to places like that. I've been to 3 wrestling shows, but I was also just recently went to a Wallflowers concert, and that is one of the plus sides about being in a wheelchair is that you get handicapped seating, and usually the handicapped seating is not terrible. Usually it's pretty good. So in the stadium, the 2 of my wrestling shows, I actually got to be in the suites in the box.
Oh, nice.
So that had nothing to do with handicap seating. Okay, just want to be clear about that. That was just having box seating. So that was really great. It was both of those were WWE shows. So I think one was a Raw, and then it was one of the Armageddons. I think WWE. It was when, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was when Shane jumped off the Titantron. Actually, I saw that live. If I'm not mistaken.
Get out! You saw that live?
Yeah, it was her. I believe that was in Hershey. It was believe that was in Hershey, Pennsylvania. It was a big one. And then we saw Raw there too. And then I saw a WCW house show. I also got to see a WCW house show. I was always more of a WCW fan than a WWE fan.
And look, I love it now, but like to me, upper echelon for me, peak. Like people say, you know, I like the flippy shit, but to me, one of my favorite eras of wrestling, if I had to pick, hands down, WCW Cruiserweight era, full stop.
Like, they had some great matches, absolutely. They were something unique, and I think that's what helped them start beating WWE in the rings. I mean, a lot of it was definitely NWO, but the Cruiserweight division was what kept you really entertained for the entire show or for those in-between stuff. Yeah.
Man, you know, somebody that I really wish would get their flowers more than they do is Psychosis.
Yeah.
Like if you're like Ray, like I absolutely love that Rey Mysterio has gotten, and that was really cool too. Like, getting to see Rey Mysterio versus Logan Paul. Which, look, as a person, as a human being, do I enjoy Logan Paul? Probably not. As a wrestler, do I admire that he has absolutely come to the top of the game? Is he apex level as a wrestler in a short amount of time? Does he have the it factor? Is he good? And unfortunately, the answer is yes, and I hate that so much. I loathe that.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan either.
Yeah, I loathe it. I love to loathe it because I'm a fan of the art of wrestling, and brother, I love to hate Logan Paul, but I love to hate to love Logan Paul and watch him in the ring, and just to see how effing good he was in that match versus Ray was fantastic. And everybody that is in the know, as distinguished wrestling fans, immediately noticed that his new finisher might have been taken from our buddy Shane Mercer. Shout out to Shane Mercer. They called it the pulverizer. Well, they initially called it the pulverizer, and then I think it was Pat McAfee that called it the pulverizer, which with me being live in the crowd, I couldn't actually hear that. Couldn't hear a commentary, which is kind of a downside of being in the crowd, but
yeah.
But the pulverizer is that's a Shane Mercer move all day long, twice on Sunday, and everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, I hope they give credit where credit's due." And there's a lot of talking about that. But man, it was a great match. But I got so mad in person because we were at Bridgestone, and there was this old man that worked the floor, and I thought that you could just stand up and sit down whenever you wanted. But he came over. And he was just like, hey, he was like, you guys sit down. I was like trying to get footage because in my mind, and like knowing the business, he's getting ready to set this move up. Because I knew, okay, I'm not being ugly here lately. This isn't, and I'm not calling Rey Mysterio a jobber by any means. That's not. He's helping put other people over, would be the better way to phrase it. Rey Mysterio is helping put other people over at this stage in his career, right?
Yeah.
And that's absolutely what he did in this match. I knew that it wasn't going to be Rey Mysterio going on to Elimination Chamber, and that's what they hyped this match up as. And everybody, of course, is cheering for Rey Mysterio because everybody in Nashville loves Rey Mysterio. Yeah. But the reality of it is that it was going to be Logan Paul going on. And I knew that. So I was waiting for this moment that he was just absolutely going to wreck his shit. And I'm sitting here and I've got my camera ready and I'm like, I'm going to get such good footage. And then here comes this fucking crypt keeper in a jacket that's like 3 sizes too big for him to tell me to sit down. And then he also goes about 2 rows back and tells this gentleman that is developmentally disabled to sit down. And then he also makes a point to tell a lady that is African-American on the same row as me to sit down. Nobody else. There were no cameras. They weren't setting up a shot. We weren't in the way of the cam, which, by the way, if anybody watched or was critical of my hard cam video, the cam for which the hard cam is named is slightly to the right of where we were sitting. We were sitting in the hard cam side. We did not carefully omit anything, and the only space involved in that video is if you decided to tastefully or not so tastefully comment, was the aisle of which people have to walk to get to their seats. There were X's in those seats. There were no empty seats. I just wanted to clarify that real quick. But anyway,
a lot of people misread that video of yours.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the caption was literally "confused AEW fan," and then what was cute.
Who's not smart enough to see that this is to be funny? The fact that someone didn't. When I first saw it, I said confused AEW fan, and then I saw you, and then I'll admit, for a minute, I was like, did she really go to a WWE event thinking that it was an AEW event? And then I was like, no, of course she didn't. This is meant to be funny.
What's going on here?
It's hilarious.
This was a confused girl. Can somebody help me? But what was really cute though is that I had, now keep in mind this was posted across several different channels. The mansplaining, and look, I don't even like to use that term because I feel like it makes me sound like I'm trying to be like, oh, somebody trying to mansplain something to me. But that's a real ass thing, guys. Like I work in wrestling. I talk about wrestling all the time. There were people in the comment section that were like, actually full blown Oxford fucking dictionary that were like, actually the hard cam sign is an industry term. And what it means is that is the side that the camera sits on. Generally, they keep those seats open so that the camera can perform without being interrupted. Like, thanks a lot. Didn't really need that. There goes the joke. The joke went that.
Dude, look around. There it is.
They were really trying to be helpful, and they weren't mean. They didn't tell me to die at any point, so that was really cool.
It's always nice to get comments, even if they're wrong comments. At least that don't tell you to die.
Well, they were trying to be helpful. That's actually very sweet, and that was actually really sweet. I think what I'm going to start doing, JD, in the future is start. We have got some winners of comments that get posted sometimes. I don't know. What's the craziest comment that you guys have ever gotten over on Mayhem Media? Like, do you guys ever get like just weird or like out of bounds comments?
Yes, sometimes you're one of your favorites, one of your Mayhem favorites there. The Brit has certainly drawn a comment or two through no fault of his own. I want to point out, through absolutely no fault of his own. He did not do anything to bring on anything. But yes, we've had people comment some things you do. The public comment section is not a place for some things. All right. So yes, we certainly have had that happen. Yeah.
Gotta have some cojones. You gotta have some, in your case, testicular fortitude. In my case, testicular fortitude. Go into a wrestling comment section. I'm going to trademark that, by the way. Put it on Pro Wrestling Tees. Ow! Man, hey,
we got our storefront too. Everybody's got a storefront. You got to have a storefront if you're going to make content.
We do, and I'm going to update it. Actually, I made a badass shirt design. Have you watched Heels? Have you watched Heels at all?
The Eagles?
No, Heels.
No, I don't think so.
You said the Eagles.
Yes, I have no idea. Yes, because what I heard you say is not apparently whatever you said.
Yes, they won, and yes, they should have.
Yes, yes.
You a big Eagles fan?
Yes, I am an Eagles fan, being from Pennsylvania, yes. And this is their second Super Bowl. And, I can honestly say that Patrick Mahomes almost crying brought a smile to my face. However, I would also like to point out that I don't give a crap how many Super Bowls this is. If this could have been our 5th Super Bowl in a row, winning a Super Bowl, no matter what number, is never a reason to burn down your own city. Okay,
that's so silly.
I'm going to be writing an article about that. One of the first articles that we're actually going to have on our Mayhem Media website is actually going to be me writing to the fans of the Philadelphia Eagles and telling them how ashamed I am to actually call myself one because of what they did to their own city. It's just as dumb as we don't want to get political, but that's as dumb as rioting in your own city and burning it to the ground. Burning your own city to the ground in celebration is just as stupid. What does that accomplish? Anything. You just got to clean up that shit tomorrow.
Big Papa JD isn't mad. He's really disappointed.
Yeah, very disappointed.
And so do you guys, let me ask you, is this a cultural thing? Is this like a north-south thing? Do you guys burn couches up there, or is that just an us thing?
No, no. I mean, in Philly, they were burning everything, I believe. So
everything. You guys just burn everything.
Yeah, really. I mean, they were. I got video that I'm gonna have in the article that's gonna show like light poles coming down, red lights, stop signs, and working red lights. They're pulling them down into the road and destroying them, lighting thick cars on fire. How does that help you?
See, that's okay. So that's how I know the North has money, because like we would never fucking do that here. We waited way too long to get fucking stuff.
That's what's even funnier is Philly absolutely does not have money. So they're burning down and they're just gonna let it.
Maybe.
Yep, that's just it. Well, we won the Super Bowl. We don't need a town anymore. Let's just light it on fire.
We're like, hey, give me cousin Clyde's couch, but fuck no, don't burn those stop lines down. Hell no.
Did you hear that the Philadelphia Eagles were going to give each fan in Philly $100,000 now that they won the Super Bowl?
Really?
No, of course not. Neither did anybody else. Because it's completely ridiculous.
Man, I had a hoodie. This is completely unrelated to anything. And this is, I don't know when the Eagles, when did they win their first Super Bowl, by the way?
2018.
Really?
Yeah, we were one of the late teams. We didn't have we've been to a Super Bowl prior to that, but we didn't win our first one until 2018. Doug Peterson was our head coach.
I had the coolest hoodie. Now, keep in mind, okay, I just want to preface this with, I'm not a ball sports person, guys. I'm a wrestling fan, and I'm a gamer. I don't know shit about ball sports. Now, I used to be a UK fan. I'm not really a current UK fan. I'll watch it if it's on, because that's kind of like religion here almost. UK basketball is the shit. We're not really known for our prowess at football. That's not a thing. Apparently, we don't have the patience for that. Okay, but we're good at basketball, and we're great at that, and we used to be really great at that. We will burn a couch, though. We will burn a damn couch. But between Louisville, which some people like Louisville, some that aren't and then UK. I don't know. I'm not a ball sports person.
I love all of the above.
Johnny's here. Yep, Johnny's in the comment. We love you, Johnny. I'm not a ball sports person, but I used to have this hoodie, and I used to go vintage shopping all the time before it was a thing. I had a hoodie. It was badass. It was bright emerald green. If I could find it, I bet this thing's worth $1 million now. But it was a green, bright emerald green hoodie, and it was like a vintage lettering Eagles in black and white script. Not really an old English script.
Yeah,
but it was almost like the Calimity Jayne.
Yeah, logo. They're old. I know exactly the lettering you're talking about. It's like their old lettering from from the 80s. When they changed up their colors and their uniforms in I want to say 92 or 93. That's when they started using the more darker green, I think it was.
I would give my left tit to find one exactly like the one I had in high school. I wore that thing all the time. I didn't give a shit about, but I just thought it was cool because I didn't really give as much shit about. I knew that it was about Eagles football, but in my mind, I associated it with the Eagles, like the band Eagles.
Yes.
And patriotism. Hell yeah. Because why not? Johnny, I'm so glad you're here. Shout out to Superfly Johnny Lee. I just want to say, Johnny, we love you. I'm so glad you're here. And we're going to be doing more shows with JD and his team for Mayhem Media in the future. And I'm so glad you're here. Hey, Johnny, this is just a personal side note. I don't know what you're doing this weekend, but me and Josie may be in Lexington this weekend, and I know that you've got some younger, like, girl cousins and stuff. Find out what they're doing. I really want to take JoJo to the Lexington, because we're coming up. We're coming up this weekend. That's going to be like my birthday trip because my daughter has never seen where I grew up with. And my birthday is the 27th of February, guys. So if you want to wish me happy birthday, like early, or give me
happy birthday. Happy birthday for Mayhem Media. I'll make sure the crew gets to a page eventually here in the next couple of days.
It's weird. Like 30 has been absolutely wild. I liked my 30s way more than I liked my 20s. Yeah, ask them what they're doing. Your little cut. Look, I gotta tell on Johnny. I went to drop Johnny off. We filmed one time, and I had to go pick him up and drop him off. And his little cousin came to the door, and she was like, "Oh, that's Johnny's girlfriend," and kept picking on him. But she's sweet as pie. Find out what she's doing, because Josie is going to be so bored if it's just me there. Oh my gosh, Smudge. Goodness gracious. Get in here. Come on.
Nice to meet you, Johnny. Superfly Johnny Lee.
He is the...
Well, sort of meeting you. Sort of.
Of Kentucky Independent Wrestling. Also, guys, I've got the Hell I Won't shirt on tonight. I just got this not too long ago. The hell I won't, because I will, bitch. I absolutely will. Everybody found that out last Tuesday. I will, in a heartbeat. So.
I'm wearing just our standard black flag design, just with our white logo on the front on a black T-shirt. It does come in other colors. It does come in other colors, but it doesn't look as good on anything but black. Man,
most people wear black T-shirts though, or like maybe a dark gray at most. Like if I'm buying a shirt, this was an exception just because it literally said the hell out.
I looked at most of the shirts. Most of the shirts I've got from my podcasts have either been black or white. I've noticed.
Yeah,
it's a little bit bizarre. I'm going to get myself another one just so we can do that.
I think the only reason that I ever venture outside.
Oh, okay, you're right. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Johnny Lee's talking in the comments. He said we met last year on Average Joe's show. So I did forget about that. It's my apologies that I did not remember that. It's been a minute. I barely remembered Calamity Jayne when she reached out. Honestly, the whole thing I think I've mentally blocked it out because it's so, as you were saying earlier, it's so unimportant.
Years ago. Well, it was literally like it was the very first episode of She Who Won't Be Named when they joined up with Thang. So that was it. And I will say this, like, I just want to, if anybody decides to go back and watch this and they are on the, guys, this is basically turned into a podcast pissing more at this point. If anybody's going back and watching this later, I just want to throw out there that there is always an olive branch on the table, but it will require a full and thorough apology to me directly, nobody else on the podcast. It doesn't matter what anybody else on the podcast says. It doesn't matter what anybody else says at this point. You have to come through my man, okay? You have to apologize to me. Any and all correspondence through any avenue, whether you're from Wrestling Society Network, Joe Monroe, Mike Keaton, I name names. I do not have a passive-aggressive bone in my body. Just come to me. My inbox is open at all times. Shoot me a message if you dare. And just apologize. That's the first step. That's the honorable thing to do. Okay, so if you're from, all right, Brady, look, if you're from Wrestling Society Network, then you know, I'm so glad that you messaged me. For not tearing anyone else down or dimming their light, Brady, I am just now responding on stuff that has happened for well over a year, and I'm so glad that you decided to join us tonight. Thank you so much for allowing me to respond to your comment. I've tried to reach out in a private, professional way to issue a sincere apology. I have no idea who you are, brother. None. There's not a single message in my inbox. I have no idea who you are, and you decided to come on my podcast and indicate that I've not responded to you or messaged you back.
No, I'm sorry, Calamity Jayne. I'm sorry, I want to interrupt you because I don't want you to get yourself into the wrong position. I think what he's saying. Oh no, maybe he did. He is saying I have tried to reach out. You're right. I apologize. I just misread it. So now I apologize, and I will be quiet and let you resume.
Yeah. We would love to make things right. I don't have a single message from you in my inbox. Brady, if you would like to resend that to me, I would be glad to respond that to you. But I messaged your podcast the night that everything happened, the night that you had 2 members of your podcast from Wrestling Society Network act out of turn and push the bar. Not only by pushing one of the members of our podcast, but by interrupting me personally. I'm extremely professional. So notice that we haven't messaged. We have not commented on this. We've not made any posts. I've not made any comments. I've not disparaged anybody until somebody decided to come up to me in a professional format at a professional event and interrupt me in the middle of a conversation with somebody that is a legend. And I messaged you that night, that message right now. And let me go ahead and pull up on my phone where I messaged Wrestling Society Network. And that message is sitting in my inbox as read with 0 response. And I don't want anybody else to respond to Brady. I don't want anybody else to feed into the negativity. I'm just going to show exactly what I am talking about. Because here it is. So whoever it is that's on your team that manages the page, Wrestling Society Podcasts. Hey, although I appreciate the kindness of the gentleman giving me a keychain advertising Wrestling Society Network this evening at the AMW show, I absolutely did not appreciate being interrupted in mid-private conversation with Rhino to promote your show, which is when Professor Bear and Joe Monroe came up. Joe Monroe didn't. Joe Monroe stood about 10 feet behind, very, very safely protected. He let Professor Bear do his dirty work. And I kind of feel sorry for him because I don't think he really knew what he was walking into. Your team members desperately need some tact and professionalism. This is the message that I sent to you.
Jayne, if you want to hold it up in front of the camera a little more, we can't see it. There you go.
Oh, I will. I'm going to read it off first, and then I'll copy and paste the whole thing and put it in the chat. Furthermore, neither myself nor anyone else associated with both my incredibly successful pages will associate with Two-Faced Joe Monroe anymore. Had I not been involved in the aforementioned conversation, I would have simply addressed this with them directly in the moment. Now, I'm sure this behavior isn't reflective of your entire team and how they carry themselves. I hope not. Please let me know if you have any other questions. Best wishes, Calamity Jayne. And here we go. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy and paste this. I'm going to put this in the chat. And I'm also going to screenshot this. And I'm going to place that screenshot, Brady Owens, because I have respect for you. I don't have any beef with you. I don't have any problems with you. I don't want you to think that I am attacking you or your brand or anything that you built. I would never do that. Okay? I don't know you from Adam. And what you know about me, you could write on the back of a postage stamp. Okay? But let me tell you what you do need to know. I'm a professional to the core. The only reason, let me repeat it a third time, the only damn reason that I responded the way that I did last Tuesday, regardless of what you have fucking heard, is because I have been pushed. My team has been pushed. Okay? JD's team has been pushed. We have all been pushed. Everybody that is associated with this entire charade has been pushed. You are getting half of the story, my friend. Okay? So Mike Keaton and Joe Monroe have brought this on themselves. And you need to do some serious follow-up conversations. I'm going to go ahead and post this in the comments so you guys can read every single bit of this. Right? And if you guys have any questions in the meantime, feel free to ask it because Calamity Jayne is an open book. I absolutely come in peace. So don't come here and say that I'm trying to dim anybody's light. I came here tonight to talk about wrestling, and you came here to talk about Joe Monroe. I did message you privately as I've double-checked. When's the date? Show me the screenshot because I'm about to post the screenshot to your page. And how do you have a page that people aren't relaying messages to you? I would absolutely allow that. Brady, 1,000% I will allow that.
Yeah, I know when you told me the story about WSN, and I'm not this part of the story, I don't necessarily
I'm 1,000% respect. Dude, they've got like 1,000 followers. Like, that's not anything to sneeze at.
Yeah. I know the only one I know is Professor Bear. It seems out of character from just a little bit I know him that he would just butt in of his own fruition. And Brady Owens, you likely are getting only half the story because you recruited somebody who is going to cause you continual problems like this.
Yeah.
Sorry, but you have.
And at the same time, like and he wasn't really necessarily rude, but it was very abrupt. I was Scout's honor in the midst of a private conversation with someone.
Yeah, thank you, Johnny Lee. I mean, I honestly, they'll figure it out eventually. It won't take too long, but you picked up a guy who's likely going to cause you more problems than help you. So that's just my opinion, and I've been trying to stay out of it. You notice on my page, only a few people even know what I'm talking about right now because I did not advertise it on my page either, just as Calamity Jayne wasn't doing it. So I can vamp for a minute for you, Calamity Jayne. I am. Do you want to get back to wrestling, or do you want to stay on this? I'm not really sure.
I'm gonna do some upbeat.
This is not my show. I am just a guest, and I love it. This is why I love podcasting, because especially lives, because you never know what's going to happen on a live. Things can just happen. You think this is the first time I've ended up on screen with the hosts having to handle something or do something else? It's certainly not. I'm hoping that Calamity Jayne and Superfly Johnny Lee and Nice Guy Andy appreciate my effort here as I vamp for everybody so that we don't just have dead air.
Sorry, my cat is being an asshole, and if you're a cat owner, you know
that's not a problem. I don't have a problem. You think, like I was just saying, you think this is the first time that I've needed to step in and vamp for somebody? You know, whether it's been a technical problem or anything else. You know what I mean? Just showcases my skills. Like I told you, what did I tell you? I said I don't care if you guys reached out, what your motives were, why you reached out to Mayhem Media. That part doesn't matter to me because it's an opportunity and I can grab it. And look at this. Who would have thought that having me on would have just led to this? That's That's what Mayhem Media brings to the podcasting world. There's a reason we call ourselves Mayhem Media.
Oh,
And
Brady. It's great. It's fun. If you tune in the future, it's always a ride. We do about, I don't know, we do a 2-hour show, and it usually ends up being about an hour of wrestling, and then it's usually about an hour of whatever you guys want to talk about. We have talked about, over at Mayhem Media, they talk about pop culture. They talk about,
we do movies, TV,
anything.
We do
talk about editing. We've talked about, we've talked about emotional conversations. We've talked about caring for our grandparents. I take care for my grandparents for a number of years. We've talked about personal battles. We've talked about addiction. We've talked about raising kids. Everybody has their own thing.
I'm actually really glad that my team didn't tune in tonight. They're likely all asleep. I want to point out that's why Mayhem Media hasn't shown up in force to this podcast. It's because it's a little bit later in the evening. Most of the guys are in bed or going to bed at this when we started. But I'm really glad that they weren't able to make it tonight. They likely would have gone. The comments would have likely degraded much quicker.
Brady, I'm so sorry. I do see that you messaged me. It went to my spam folder because my settings are set up in a way that if I'm not friends with somebody or they're not friends with a friend of mine, it immediately goes to my spam folder. But I do see your message, and I will reach out to you, and we are going to resolve this. And I do want to reach out to you. I do not have any ill will towards you or Professor Bear. He seemed like a completely nice gentleman. It was just a very Johnny is exactly right. We do get a little chaotic on the second part. I'm super excited to make y'all's acquaintance. I don't have any ill will towards your team. I have seen some of the work that you guys put out, and you're in an outstanding team of commentators, and the quality of work that you put out is great.
I like working with them also. I'll say I've had nothing but positivity with WSN, with the exception of maybe some of their recruiting practices in terms of who they're grabbing. But with most of the team members, what? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Which is not necessarily look. And here's the thing, like here, as far as Joe's concerned, as far as Mike's concerned, at the end of the day, willing to talk to both of them and all of us put this behind us. I would rather talk about wrestling. Great minds do not talk about people. Great minds talk about ideas. Okay. And that's what I'm here for. And that's what I got into this for. And we, Andy has never had a problem with Joe. Johnny, Sean, me, anybody that's at the studio has not had a problem with Joe. We helped Joe get started, but in an effort to be private and professional, I do not. And, I had always had a very positive opinion of Joe until I saw behavior that was not consistent with what I was being told. And I do not have, a lot of people do passive aggressive, and they're like, here, let me put a social media post. JD, you know what I'm talking about. Anybody knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. Where the vague posting, that's such a common thing. That's a good topic, vague posting on Facebook. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about vague posting. And I'll be the first to admit, as a woman, women, let's not do this, please. A lot of women do this. Gals do it. I used to be really bad at it in the early days of Facebook, really bad about it. Where you have a problem with someone and you imply it in a Facebook post, but you don't directly mention that person. Guys, I cannot tell you how bad that grinds my gears. That is probably one of the quickest ways to set me off. I am a very direct person, and a lot of people don't know how to handle that because I will message you. I'll message you directly. Like I messaged you guys. Brady, if I'd have known that you were the dude I was supposed to reach out to, I'd have messaged you directly. I'll shoot you screenshots and messages of everything that I have sent. And again, no hate, no vitriol towards you, your team, even towards Professor Bear, even though he was the one that slipped me the keychain. I kind of get the feeling maybe he had been set up to that. I don't know. That's just kind of a guess on my part. But if he was, I don't know. But Joe, if you're watching or if you see this at a later date, let's not let this drag out because we're all professionals. We all love this shit. Let's just work it out. And if you can come to me and you can apologize about the stuff that you said about our team, which is well documented, and if you need screenshots, I can provide those too, buddy. Let's go there. I'd rather not, but let's just move past it because we're better than that. And you know what? Wrestling right now, I've said this since the beginning of time. I think that wrestling right now is at an absolutely revolutionary time. And I'll tell you why. Because not only are we on streaming services, I think that not only with WWE going to Netflix, I'm going to go full-blown back into the conversation here. And Brady, Johnny, love you guys. Appreciate it. Kentucky, I got so mad. Speaking of the comment section, the dark side of the comment section, we had somebody comment the other day that the Kentucky wrestling was at the worst, and that's the only time that I've ever seen that comment in their comment section, and I laughed for probably a good 30 minutes. JD, you guys have some amazing wrestling in your area too, like without a shadow of a doubt. Like independent promotions that are in like the Pennsylvania area. Incredible.
There's a few, but not really. I mean, unless you know one specifically, but I only know of like 2 or 3 that are in here right here in the central area.
Yeah.
And I don't know too much about them. I've reached out to them to try and have a relationship with them with Mayhem Media, but they haven't reached back out, and they only put on shows a few times a year. So I'm trying to get in with them a little bit and reach out to them and try and help them bring some of their content forward. But there's only a few that I've found, unless you know of one specifically.
Well, I don't know specifics, but I had a chance encounter, and they're going to be a future guest on the show. Sergeant Jimmy Controversy. He's going to be a guest on my show here next Tuesday. And guys, to each their own. Some people love deathmatch wrestling. Some people are incredibly against it. I don't know much about it, okay? But I also was a huge ECW fan when it immediately started up. Like, I remember being essentially a middle schooler, and the ECW pay-per-views coming out, huge deal. My brother used to record them on VHS tapes. Used to record over other, sometimes very prominent family recordings to record ECW pay-per-views. Like, that's how hardcore we were about ECW. And I used to go, there used to be a place in Georgetown called the Center. We used to call it the Center of Town. And that's where we used to have dances. It was like all age dances. And the people that ran it were huge ECW marks. And that was back when you had the big screen TVs that were like this thick. and they had a big screen TV that was in the main area. And sometimes I would get bored with the dance, and if it just so happened to be a night they were having a pay-per-view on a Saturday, I would go and watch the old ECW matches. That was a really good time. But I say all that to say, I feel like there's a larger presence of like the deathmatch wrestling on like the Northeast, like Pennsylvania, like New Jersey. But Jimmy Controversy, his real name, Jimmy Romer, incredibly talented. And of course, we've had Mickey Knuckles on before. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Mickey Knuckles. Great friend of the podcast, but we're going to have Jimmy Romer on next Tuesday, Sergeant Jimmy Controversy. And to watch some of these matches, like, that's not really my thing. Like, I'm more of a traditional wrestler, like playing Bret Hart style, or Horseman.
Me too. Yeah. I'm not a big deathmatch guy. I think they have their place in wrestling, and I think that when you see them sparingly, I think when you see them sparingly, when you see when you have those hard rivalries and you need one of those matches, I think they do serve a purpose. And I do have great respect for everything ECW did. Okay, let's just be clear about that. But that was never my cup of tea. Like you, I think I would have preferred an Iron Man match. That was some of my favorite matches. Was seeing a 60-minute Iron Man match. The most extreme I got was Fall Brawl, the War Games.
Man,
that to me was some of the best and most brutal matches I've seen that I enjoyed.
And Johnny in the comments, Johnny mentioned the exploding barbed wire. Terry Funk.
Yeah.
Jack, holy shit! Like that was some legendary.
They're crazy guys. They're crazy. Like I don't like, just because it's not my cup of tea doesn't mean that I can't recognize what they put their bodies through for.
It's a whole other breed. It's not even wrestling. It's like a whole other tier. It's like back when we used to play Mortal Kombat as kids.
Yeah.
You go up the ladder, you go up the echelon, and it's your approaching Shao Kahn. And it's like deathmatch wrestling is like up here.
Yeah.
It's on its own plane, brother.
There's some people that are they're a little too crazy. New Jack, that man's certifiable. Put him in a padded room. That's where he belongs.
I saw this. Hey, Johnny said too many light tubes. I would agree with that. I saw there was somebody doing a poll the other day, and it was like you have two of these people. You could pick two of these people to be in your corner, a street fight, and that's it. Who would you pick? And it had like a whole roster of like WWE stars.
Yeah.
But number two, and I remember number two was Ken Shamrock. So I picked Ken Shamrock. Because
I think you're right.
Shamrock was Ken Shamrock. And number 13 was New Jack. And I picked number 2 and number 13 because New Jack. And if I could have picked 13 twice, I would have picked 13 twice, but I couldn't. So I picked Ken Shamrock as kind of like a balance.
Have you guys watched any of the Dark Side of the Ring series?
Oh my God, yes.
The episode with New Jack. The episode with New Jack was that's what I'm saying. That man, he's crazy. He's been crazy.
Let him do whatever he wants. Just let the man do whatever he wants.
I just want to point. Listen, I did backyard wrestling and I did some things, but New Jack, his forehead, the way as many times as he's bladed himself.
I'm sorry.
You have Super Johnny. You have. Yeah, he was a sniper.
I want to put that on a shirt. JD. I want to put that on a shirt.
What?
I I have done some backyard wrestling, and I have done some things.
I have done some backyard wrestling.
I have too. I did like literally 2 matches.
We put on 2 events. We recorded one of them. We put on 2 events, and me and my brother, and the one we recorded, we put on a 3 stages of hell match. It was a first blood, then a basic pinfall, and then a table match.
Jesus. I had a very bare bones backyard. It was the definition of outlaw mud show bullshit match. And then the cops showed up at the end of the second match, and that was the end of my wrestling career, brother.
We did dark. We did it at night so that we could have the light effects. So we used this big light that was over the back of our house, and we drove cars up around our house into the yard to put in the backyard because the light wasn't enough. So we had to bring 2 cars. 2 of my buddies brought their cars in the grass, drove them around the house and into the backyard so that we could have enough light to put on our wrestling show. And then we used the cars. Some of the guys decided to use the cars as part of the show. My friends were very happy as soon as people started taking bumps on their hoods.
I was about to make an outbuilder reference, and Johnny did it for me. I'm talking about people's foreheads. Bless him. God bless him. He's so nice, though. He's so nice.
Johnny, I absolutely agree with you. Like when the first blood part, like I had to cut myself. I was not letting my brother beat my forehead until I was actually bloody. So we set it up so that I could be bladed. I only did it like 2 or 3 times in my backyard wrestling. And I'm so glad I didn't do it more frequently. Because as soon as I saw people like New Jack, I'm like, oh my goodness, thank goodness I did not blade myself more frequently than that. Look at what his forehead is. That's what my forehead could have looked like. You don't realize that. Look at Ric Flair, man. Too much. You do it too much. That's why blood is not necessary in wrestling. What are your thoughts on that, Calimity, Jayne? I don't mean to hijack your show, but what are your thoughts on like blood? What do you think about blood in wrestling? I think it has its place in those unique situations, in those hard matches where it might be called for. But I think it's done too frequently sometimes.
I agree. Okay, so like obviously I graduated in 2004. I'm gonna age myself a little bit. Grew up around the Corn Limp Bizkit age, so a lot of us are still hanging out. Apparently, ICP. A lot of us are still apparently hanging out at down deathmatch shows, and that's cool, man. If that's your thing, by God, do it. But don't go and do it every single weekend. That is why, look, John Moxley used to be taken a lot more seriously. Johnny's already jumping the gun there. Blood and guts.
He's doing a little too much.
Needs to be a punctuation mark. Okay? It's not vowels. It's not letters. Okay? If you're building a sentence with wrestling, it's a punctuation mark. It's an exclamation mark that is used sparingly.
Yeah.
It's feud when people absolutely hate each other. Don't just recklessly put people out there and have them bleed for no reason. It doesn't make sense.
No.
And when you do that,
it's just like Flair. Flair used to bleed the same way.
When you
do that, I didn't cut you up. I'm seeing the comments.
No. When you do that, when you put people in there and you have them bleed for no reason, one, and people in writers do this all the time, and you see the feedback for it. And Johnny's exactly right. It means more because it's done so much less.
Yeah.
And everybody that saw the video, that saw the hard can video, look, I don't actually hate AEW. I'm actually an AEW fan. I like it all. I am more critical of AEW. And here's why. Blood should be used sparingly. Blood is something that you drag out when you have had a feud that is written so well, that has been built so wonderfully, that people are literally aching for it. People are aching to see that blood. It is theater. Wrestling is theater. People want to feel that. And people forget that. It's not just going up there and doing a bunch of flippy flips or doing a bunch of poundy pounds or doing a bunch of Canadian destroyers on the apron. It is theater. It's very well timed comedy. It's excellently timed technique. It is a dance. It is intrigue. It is mystery. But most of all, it is that build. And it has to be done well. But it's something that is done so often in wrestling now that makes me so damn mad is that people think the audience is stupid. And if you look, and everybody complains, Johnny just said, if you look at any wrestling forum, if you go anywhere online right now across America, AEW doesn't develop the storylines. WWE, sorry, Papa H, doesn't develop the storylines the way that they should because you are discounting the intelligence of your audience.
I don't think that's why they're doing it.
No. You mean to tell me that an audience, if you're on Netflix, an audience that can understand Squid Game, that can understand the complexities of Squid Game or the nuance of something like that, can't understand the nuance of a wrestling program? Get the fuck out of here. You are intentionally, and there is a preconception that wrestling audiences are not smart enough to pick up on things. But yet,
oh yeah, I agree with that.
We have people every week. Anytime Karrion Kross comes in contact with somebody, well, he's going to turn him heel. Well, no shit. Everybody sees that. No shit. Boxes, thank you so much. No shit. Everybody sees that. Everybody sees through that. We know that. Make it interesting and make it deep. Make it thoughtful.
I think AEW. I think Tony Khan's problem is that he's too much of a fan, and he's a fan of very specific things in wrestling, like the banger match. And he very much likes stable warfare. I'm a big fan of stable warfare. I think that's a huge thing that WWE has not ever really done it that well, in my opinion, with the exception of the Bloodline. The Bloodline is its own thing, but I don't think WWE's done stable warfare quite as good. Yeah. And I think that Tony Khan's, he's too much of a fan. He wants to see the things that he's a fan of. I think Tony Khan, and I've been saying it on our show, I've said it many times on our show, Tony Khan, it's time for him to step out of the creative box and into the executive box. It's time for him to run the company. And it's time for him to put people in charge of the day-to-day storylines and building the storylines. He's the owner of the company. He shouldn't be deciding who is wrestling who on Dynamite. He should be deciding where is the next TV deal money coming from and how much money are we going to get? How can we further reach more people? What can we do from a business aspect? He should be done doing any kind of creative aspect of the wrestling, in my opinion. He's not needed there.
Tony needs to delegate.
Exactly.
Now, look, and there's a lot of people that don't agree with me. I know that Tony's got a punching bag. People are like, well, he hugs too much. He's got little man syndrome, blah, 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 blah. I like Tony Khan. I think Tony is a breath of fresh air. I think that if he leaned in, if he had the right social media strategy, if he had the right team with him,
he needs a team.
And if he leaned into a more of a, I don't want to say CEO because that has a negative connotation now. Thanks a lot, Mercedes. If he leaned into more of an executive role, more of a Vince McMahon role, it's okay. Look, I don't think there's anything wrong with hugging your people. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a chummy relationship with the people that you work for, but lay down the law when it needs to be laid down.
Yeah.
I also have the forethought to think that there are also people that are behind the scenes that are causing problems that are, okay, personal opinion, could be wrong, could be right. Tony, reach out to me if you want a real bad bitch on your team. Just
I offered it the same. There you go. Hire me and Calamity Jayne as your new writing team, and we can take AEW public in 5 years. Just give us the reins. You keep doing the office stuff. Let us handle the wrestling stuff.
Tony, what I need you to do is I need you to step back and enjoy your money. I want you to occasionally feed us ideas and go play on Daddy's yacht. And I want you to just go watch matches and just occasionally tell us what you like. And in the meantime, you need somebody to go in and clean house, because I would say that there's probably 5 to 8 people that are behind the scenes at AEW that are telling you what the fuck to do, that either need to be gone or that need to be put on some sort of probation. And this is just a guesstimate. People may or may not agree with me. I would gander, if I were a betting woman, which I am, I would say one of those people are Chris Jericho.
You think?
Just a guess. And I would immediately put him on probation. I would remove him from programming and put him in a leadership role. That's it. Pull him from TV. He is toxic. He is poison. People are fucking not tuning in.
Isn't it a shame? Isn't it a
People
shame?
are not tuning in for Chris Jericho.
Would you have?
What I would do?
Would you have said that in 2019 when AEW just started? Would you have said that in 2019 because they need Jericho, right?
But I would have plugged him sparingly.
And then you would have had him transition. Like what you're saying is that it was wrong to get him. They needed him at the time. But now he should not be doing what he's doing. He shouldn't be on wrestling. He shouldn't be world champion. He should be doing something else with AEW.
Is Chris Jericho, and what I would have focused on is Christian. To me, look, the Lionheart Chris Jericho, dead and gone. Throw it in the trash. The man doesn't exist anymore. Hang it up. Okay? We're all hanging on to Y2K. Okay? Look, fucking loved him. Loved WCW Chris Jericho. It doesn't fucking exist anymore. Okay?
Yeah.
You know who is doing good work as a veteran? Fucking Christian. You know who? There are tons of other people that are in the business that are doing great work, and it's not Chris Jericho. And then there are other people that we have brought in that have just been abandoned.
So it's the Jericho Appreciation Society. That's what I think Chris Jericho started to slide.
You need a team of writers who are building up those storylines, who are taking them with literal fucking trees. Like, have you ever seen the who's the guy from Always Sunny in Philadelphia? Where they have he's got like all the little marks, and he's like at the board. You need like 5 to 10 people who work really good together that are literally just doing that. And then you need a separate social media team. And then you need a separate merchandising team, which their merchandising team, I cannot say shit about. AEW has an outstanding merchandising team. But when I found out that they basically had the wives of the Young Bucks doing their merchandising, and then they let them go, they need to be building that up more. Because they could be making a killing doing the merchandising off of some of these guys. I'm not even sure that they're advertising that as well as they could. So then I would do that and build that up. But you need to have somebody take the reins.
I agree with
you. And you do not need to be, sir, I'm so sorry. Tony, Mr. Khan, we love you so much. You do not need to be posting on social media. Have you ever thought about taking a break? How about you go on vacation for about a month?
Get off social media. I think I agree with Brady and Johnny. Scott D'Amore. AEW missed something when they didn't get Scott D'Amore.
Oh man, you mentioned my favorite person, William Regal. Oh, William Regal. Huge William Regal mark.
That was
Next,
another huge loss for AEW. That was another huge loss for AEW was losing William Regal. That was not a good loss for them. I don't care.
They should know. Oh man, yeah, Scott D'Amore. What the hell? Why did they not scoop Brady right up a good point? Like I haven't been looking at the screen for like 2-3 minutes. Why not? TNA was on fire. The Apex was right about the time that
I can't believe they got rid of him.
Right about the time that McMahon became champion. Which, by the way, I don't know if I'm just going to do a shameless plug here. I don't know if any of you guys are going to Squared Circle Expo that is in Indianapolis. I will be there. I'm going for the first time. I'm so excited. I keep talking about it because I'm really excited, but I'm just throwing that out there. But I hope Scott D'Amore. He just signed somewhere else, though, didn't he? Scott D'Amore?
Yeah, he I can't remember where he went. I'm totally drawing a blank on where he went, but yeah, he they fired him from TNA, and then AEW should have gotten him, but
yeah,
I mean Brady and Johnny. I would in AEW they had Ric Flair, Tully Blanchard, and Arn Anderson all under contract at the same time. How do you not do a Horseman reunion and like have another stable, like have them usher in a new 4 Horsemen? I think AEW's missed opportunities are adding up just as quickly as WWE's was. Because I mean, I think in the 90s, especially in the 2000s after they acquired WCW, I think WWE has an enormous amount of mistakes on their list of mistakes. But AEW is acquiring them very quickly in their young existence.
Absolutely. And you know what I found out is that Rita Chatterton. You guys know who Rita Chatterton is, right? She was apparently signed with AEW for a year and said she didn't do shit. Rita Chatterton was the first female referee, professional wrestling referee. She was signed with WWF for a while, but she was also the first person, maybe not the first person, but she was the female referee that filed against sexual harassment charges against Vince McMahon. And AEW had her signed for a year, and she came out the other day and made a statement that said she was signed to AEW for a whole year and didn't do shit. They paid her just to do.
They do that a lot. They pick up talent and then they don't use them.
Rita Chatterton
and Johnny Lee, Ricky Starks. That's another huge loss, another huge wasted opportunity. I also think losing the Lucha Brothers is also a huge, or at least, all right, they didn't lose both the Lucha Brothers. Ray Phoenix was injured, so he had more time added onto his contract. But he lost Penta, and Ray Phoenix is WWE bound as soon as his contract is up.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can't wait for Megan Becky. Yes. And so I'm super excited about
I like
versus Gunther.
I like Billy Starks in Ring of Honor. I'm a Billy Starks fan.
She's a Kentucky girl. Of course. Of course you like her.
She is going to be, you watch out. Billy Starks is going to be a huge multi-time world champion, Charlotte Flair, Trish Stratus-esque. She is absolutely going to reach that pinnacle. Yeah, she is going to just dominate as soon as she gets a little bit more under her belt. It's great that she's in Ring of Honor getting some experience right now. And when she gets to WWE, if she gets to AEW, I hope that she actually gets used in a good way. But if she ever makes it to WWE, then she'll be the next one. She'll be the next big one for sure.
Yeah. And you know what's cool about Billy is that she went to her senior prom in Kentucky, and she is already a decorated wrestling champion, and she brought her belts with her to her belts, plural belts, with
She's
her to
crazy.
prom.
Yeah, she's so good. And Grindhouse, Superfly, Johnny Lee, just to talk about Grindhouse. I just heard about or just learned about Grindhouse just the other day. I had J-Mo and his wife from OVW on one of
You
my
did too.
shows. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw they were on your show too. Yeah. Yeah, they're coming back. They're going to be coming back on. I'm going to be having them back on again. They're actually coming on both my other brand, and they're going to come back on another Mayhem Media episode. But yeah, I just heard about Grindhouse too. Isn't it funny how like the networking? You talk to people, you meet people, and then
read each other's minds.
Yeah,
we're gonna get Tegan too. I don't know if you reached out to Tegan. You should holler at holler
okay.
at Tegan.
I know that name. I know that name, but I have not talked to.
She's great. She's awesome, and man, it'd be great. It's gonna be.
Yeah, I saw you guys had him live in the studio. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off again. Johnny Lee just mentioned. I saw you guys had him live in the studio. That was pretty cool. I mean, me being in Pennsylvania, I can't have him live in my studio. So when I saw you guys, I got to have him live in the studio. I'm like, oh, those curse those guys.
I get jealous all the time. I'm 3 hours away. So I'm in the western part of the state for you guys that are watching. I'm in the western part of Kentucky, and I'm always sad because Johnny and B Money and Andy and Sean, I'm just kidding, and Leon Lexington and all of our super awesome team that lives in Lexington and that's lucky enough to live in Lexington, and I'm super jealous. I have to drive like 3 hours to join them.
You guys are on different sides of the state,
and that's why I did this. That's why I did the late night show on Tuesday. But it's awesome. I can't complain because I get to do remote guests like yourself. So
yeah,
sometimes I go out and
me too. I do. I don't have even people who are local here in Pennsylvania. I'm like, they're like, oh, do you want me to go somewhere? I'm like, if you want to come to my home and be here, we can do that. I was like, but if you would like to just stay at home or in your own studio or whatever, that's, it's real easy to do that nowadays. So.
No, Johnny said, I appreciate your show as well. I love you, bud. Best. But hey, I tell you what, when I do go to Lexington, it's absolute fire. I usually which I don't want to say, I only go up there.
Marks, I like.
I'm sorry. But I typically only go up there for, like our guys, our heaviest hitters are. I'm not being a tribalist. I'm not being an e-drone. Pull your thumb out of your asses. We don't only cover WWE, but our biggest hits are when we cover WWE PLEs. That's it. That's what our biggest hits are for.
We've started Mayhem Media. We started doing a prediction show. We do a prediction show the week before the events, and we've started doing a couple of watch-alongs on the PLEs, and you can't deny that they are popular. We want to try and add some AEW content, but we're small, and there's only so many of us, and there's only so much time. I love how your commenter Locks talks in hashtags.
Yeah, I love it. Locks is so good. Locks is like super awesome vintage fan.
Yeah, I love how you talk in hashtags. It's very you're a salesman, Locks, aren't you? You're in sales somewhere. Someone who talks.
Podcast. Love it. Love it. Keep those hashtags coming.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, I do a lot of hashtag work too because it works. Like you can get people who look for hashtags, or you can draw people to yourself that way. So I use hashtags too when I'm posting. That's what caught my attention because someone talking in hashtags is a little bit more unique than just using a couple.
All my buddies from over at the Pro Wrestling World. Got to keep the Pro Wrestling World crowd happy. I'll tell you what, though, man. I've had some people say some downright mean-ass stuff today. But that's okay, because I'm a big, strong girl. I have big, strong dreams.
That's what I tell people. I tell haters, if you're going to hate somebody, feel free to hate on me, because you ain't going to mean nothing.
Brother,
your hate means nothing to me. I'm impervious.
People forget that I literally come out as a heel manager. I don't know how many of you know this. That's my hobby. I don't care if I even get paid in a hot dog and a handshake, brother. I do this shit for fun. Okay? I literally come out to the ring and get heckled for fun. What does that tell you about me? I don't give a shit. You want to make fun of me on the internet? Boo-hoo. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. So there we go. Pro Wrestling World, not the Pro Wrestling World. Johnny. And that's true. It is Pro Wrestling World. PWW. Like the NWO, not the Pro Wrestling World. You know you're on the wrong page when you see 500 people with screen names arguing with each other, trying to rage bait each other and start an argument.
Oh my goodness, that's one thing I hate so much.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, because I've had other shows want to do that with us, and I've had people that were on my team that wanted to get into that. And I'm like, we're not a wrestling company. We're a media company. I don't mind getting involved in the tertiary of the wrestling world. Like we have the Diamonds come on. They're from, do you know who Austin Diamond is? Scott Diamond?
Love them.
Good.
Love them.
Well, Mayhem Media is the official place where they come on now to when they give big announcements and stuff. They come on Mayhem Media.
Oh, that's bullshit. I'm going to steal them out from under you. No,
absolutely not. Absolutely not. Nope, I got them locked down. You can try all day. I got them locked in.
I'll steal Austin out from under you. Well, I'll do the heel part. You guys can do the.
That's the other problem. No, that's another problem. I think we're just a bunch of heels working together is the problem here, because I don't really fit. I can do the face. I can be the hero. I can be the hero if I need to be one. All right, but that's not my. That's the Dark Knight, I guess. I'm for good, but I'll do what I need to do to get the job done.
One of the funniest interactions is so when Austin and who shall not be named, when they were having their fuss or their
that's how I got involved with both of them.
I didn't know Austin then, but I was trying to do my podcast with said person, and other person came in the chat and was trying to like commandeer the chat, and I was like, brother, I'm not having it. This is my damn show. And I immediately started insulting Austin Diamond because I don't know that he'd ever bucked up against a female heel like me before. And I told him that he got all of his jewelry out of the bowling alley bubblegum machines.
Did you?
And that he looked like he needed to step up on the stool at Nana's house and lick the brownie batter spoon. And he looked like he fought his first match in a Speedway parking lot. And like I just kept going and going and going and going. And we've been friends ever since.
Yeah, it was Joe asked me to get involved, like get the Mayhem involved to help them like with their storyline and stuff like that. So I went on his show, and then Austin was supposed to heckle me through the comments, and then him and I were supposed to go back and forth. Fortunately, oh yeah, he did, Johnny Lee. He absolutely hit the kendo stick herd round the world, and you know, I'm not entirely convinced that there wasn't brain damage as a result of that kendo stick herd round the world. And so absolutely not. It was a great kendo stick shot. But yeah, that's how I met them. Through that, they asked us to get involved and to to be the media side. So we did. And we ended up being more friends with Austin and Scott Diamond than with the other person that that was with us, who introduced us, and now they come on our show. They come on Mayhem all the time.
Yeah,
Austin was actually going to do a show for us, but he wasn't. He's young yet.
And Scott, which, well, I mean, Austin's of age now.
I did not.
Everything. So
that's so awesome. I did not know that you guys knew the Diamonds as well. That is so. Oh, man. That's so crazy.
They work with us all the time. We've done skits with them. And Scott, when we did our exhibition show, and I was the only manager involved with that show. Scott is super knowledgeable as a manager, as a heel manager, incredibly talented, and he is just, I consider him to be an incredibly wonderful mentor in the business to me. So shout out Scott Diamond. Diamonds are forever.
Absolutely. Shout out to the Diamonds, Mayhem Media. We got their back. They got our back. I think we're going to be having them on again soon, I hope. I just talked to Austin the other day about trying to hopefully come back on and get him on another episode.
Be great. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love them. Wonderful. And Austin is like, it's so awesome too, because when you see that legacy being passed down, but he's doing his own thing with it. And he's so sassy and cocky, and they really kind of have this, like, to compare it to anything else that people might have a frame of reference for, really it kind of is a Ray and Dom kind of thing, because Scott is this extremely well respected, well loved veteran that everybody just is enamored with. And then you have Austin Diamond, who is just this complete off the rails shit heel that people can't help but also love too. So I'm a huge fan of the Diamond Cartel.
Absolutely.
Will always be a Calimity.
I'm even trying to make Austin Diamond a t-shirt with the Mayhem logo on it that he can wear around and sport it at wrestling shows. I saw what happened between them, Johnny. I saw that they're Austin and Scott are not seeing eye to eye at the moment right now. So
yeah, they're not.
That is a shame.
See, Johnny said Scott taught me that if I have Jayne choke me, how to position myself behind the rope. Johnny, I'm gonna call bullshit. Nobody taught you how to.
I didn't realize this was an adult kinky show like that. Now we're talking about having Jayne.
It was, and normally
and position yourself.
Normally, people have to pay extra for that shit.
Yeah,
and,
I mean,
Johnny got it for free, and he got chopped. Did we ever post that? We didn't post that, did we? I think we might have been worried that it would get taken down, because typically, if we do anything that's too brutal or adult, or somebody like having their shirt up, I chopped Johnny when we were at the show at AMW. And because we had joked that all the male guests that had been, this has been going on for a while, all the male guests that had been to the show chopped Johnny. Me chopping you or Tyler chopping you? Tyler chopping you was on there. Me chopping you is not on there.
My favorite phrase, it's on the TikTok, said by Johnny Lee in tonight's episode.
It's on the old TikTok.
It's the fact that he included the. It's on the TikTok. That's what I love most about that comment.
Which, by the way, if you're not following me on TikTok, if you like my show, if you like this show.
I don't do TikTok. We don't do TikTok on Mayhem Media. I'm probably going to have my team try and convince me that we should be on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok. I'm not a fan of TikTok. I don't like TikTok. And, we're on Facebook, YouTube. We're on Rumble. We're on Twitter. We're not on TikTok. And I don't know that we are.
Don't start a TikTok because you feel obligated. If you have I'm going to give you the best advice I can. If you have one person on your team that's just like super funny and that likes being funny all the time, let them start a TikTok?
I don't know. That's what my problem with TikTok. I don't know that I'm a fan of content that can be crammed into 1 minute.
It doesn't have to be a minute. It can be up to 10 minutes.
Oh, same. It's the same kind of difference. Like I'm not. We have a couple of shorts and stuff on our. Like we do produce short content. But I think if that's all we become about, I think that's one of the reasons why I love your show. I love that we're an hour and a half in, because even on Mayhem Media, we try not to go longer than an hour. We usually lose viewership. The viewership drops off, we noticed, after an hour. So I love that you're going an hour and a half, and that your other shows go 2 hours and 2.5 and 3 hours, because that's what I like. I like long, in-depth conversations and talks. That's the kind of content that I like making.
Yeah, the stamina. Tell everybody. No,
you were right. I am going to be your future ex-husband, Jayne.
That's how it goes. We're telling now. Don't lie. But you know when the so I was anytime that anybody's like, oh, this is popular or everybody likes it, instantly I'm like, nope, I fucking hate it. I was like that with Game of Thrones. And everybody's like, "Oh my god, Game of Thrones is so good." And
I like Game of Thrones.
I was like, I hate it. I'm not gonna watch that shit. I think it was about 6 seasons in. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna watch it.
You shouldn't have watched it before you had 6 seasons ready. I watched season 1 by itself. I was turned off.
I watched the whole damn thing. I'm obsessed. I haven't read the books. I need to do that because I think I'm at that level where I would like completely nerd out and be like,
I can't do the books.
I don't have the time.
Not only do I not have the time, I don't think
about it, but
I don't think I have the capacity to read pages upon pages upon pages of description.
I do, but I just don't have the time. I wish I did. I wish I could. And that's like, what else was really popular? Cobra Kai.
Do you watch After the Dragon? Or After the Dragon, I'm sorry, that's the name of my show that follows House of the Dragon. I'm plugging my own show accidentally.
Yeah.
We have an after show. We'll have to try and have you on with the new season.
Well, then we need to pair up with my buddy Charlie from Starkville. If you follow Drive Through with Jim Cornette, then we need to team up because between those 2 pages, because I helped moderate a page with Charlie, because we're also huge Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon marks. But I started watching Cobra Kai, and also this is all Indy's fault. I don't know if anybody watches The Boys.
I want to watch Cobra Kai. I haven't started it yet. I don't have the time to if it's going to be on Mayhem, I can make time because then it's work related. Yeah. Oh, I have to watch this. I'm doing a podcast on it.
Watch this for work. Yeah.
If that's not the case, there's not a whole lot I get to watch anymore because I'm always busy.
My favorite new piece of media that I have watched, because I'm a huge X-Men. I love X-Men. I love Batman. I love Catwoman, Poison Ivy.
I'm more of a Marvel than DC. fan.
But for me, for sure, I'm a huge X-Men mark, more so than DC. But I also, growing up, I didn't really read the Batman comics as much as I watched the movies, because that was just like, you're a kid in the 90s. It was the 90s. You watched the Batman movies. But there was a Catwoman. I read a lot of the Catwoman comics. I read a lot of the Poison Ivy comics in the 90s. And then I have just been really big in comic books. And we were at the studio, and they made a Homelander reference talking about Cody Rhodes. And I was like lost. I was like, what are you talking about? And then like Andy explained to me, he was like, you have got to watch The Boys. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, imagine, and this is the way he explained it to me, and it hooked me. He was like, imagine if like Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman and all of the comic book characters that you know and that you love had the powers that they do, but they were really human and they were really, really flawed and fucked up. And I was like, yeah, I probably watched that. And that's exactly what The Boys is. And it's it's brutal and it's very, very, some of it's really fucked up to watch, but it's so good. And like, I really love, because as a heel, I love a good villain arc. I love to see villains developed and a good villain story told and explained well that it makes sense. And to me, Homelander, hate him, but his story makes complete sense because psychologically it is the story of nature versus nurture, and it gets explained throughout the series. He's basically Superman, but it's like if Superman was raised in a lab and he didn't have that personalization and that touch and that human interaction, would that fuck Superman up and would he be a bastard? And the answer is yes. And yes, he would be a miserable son of a bitch. And this is what would happen. And that is what people are referencing when they reference Homelander. And then all of a sudden these Homelander references hit home. So it really is like he really. And Johnny said exactly. Homelander kills and still thinks he's the good guy, just like Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is not quite at that point yet, Johnny. But the if you look at Cody Rhodes and if you look at Homelander side by side, there's a lot of similarities.
I would believe that.
Yeah. And
I think Cody Rhodes, I'll be honest with you, I think AEW is a product of Cody Rhodes wanting to win the WWE title. I think if Cody Rhodes didn't want to win the WWE title so badly, we wouldn't have AEW. I haven't seen X-Men 97. I've been going back through to watch the old X-Men's first before I watch it. I wanted to go in fresh.
Watch them all.
I don't have a lot of time.
Dude. If you like Marvel, brother, I'm telling you, did you read a lot of the comics in the 90s?
Yeah, I know the comics and the original cartoon. I mean, I can recite the cartoon, but I wanted to rewatch it again and go in fresh.
Brother, go through, watch all of the new movies in chronological order, and then watch X-Men 97. It'll blow your mind. X-Men 97, I was like, it's a cartoon. How good can it be?
I mean, I still watch the old X-Men cartoon. I think it's pretty good.
It'll break your heart. No lie. No cap. Made me feel things I've never felt before. And I was a tremendous X-Men comics fan. And we used to play on the playground and pretend that we were in the X-Men show.
Yeah. Well, who didn't?
Man. And I used to get so pissed off because, like, I had two friends, and I had two really popular friends, and they used to be Storm and Rogue, and I always got stuck being Jubilee. Those were the breaks, and it's probably what's wrong with me now, but that's fine. That's just sometimes that's what you gotta do. She was, that's fine. That's just, that's just what you gotta do. So, but anyway, guys, I would absolutely hate to cut it short, but I have got to take a test for one of my classes, and I was supposed to take about 50 minutes on it, and I've got about 30 minutes to finish this test. Jayne, yeah, well, kick ass, Seabass. Guys, I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in tonight and showing out. If you sent us questions, by all means, I'm absolutely going to read through everybody and get back with everybody. Thank you so much. JD, thank you so much for joining us. I cannot wait to have more of the Mayhem Media team to join us. I cannot wait to have Sergeant Jimmy Controversy, a.k.a. Jimmy Romer, join us next Tuesday night. So make sure that you are here and that you are tuned in. And then, of course, Johnny and the team, we're going to be on later this week. If you are in the state of Kentucky, make sure that you are safe and sound and warm. And then next weekend, after the Sergeant Jimmy Controversy show, make sure that you tune back in because we will be covering the Elimination Chamber in the studio in Lexington on March the 1st that evening. So make sure that you're tuned in, you got lots of snacks, and come hang out with us. So JD, I'm going to sign off. You got anything else you want to say to our team?
Thanks for having me on. Check out Mayhem Media. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. Hit that subscribe button. And we're not trying to compete with Nice Guy Andy Podcast and Pro Wrestling World, but we're likely potentially also doing a live watch along. So feel free to maybe jump back and forth, or maybe we'll send someone over here to leave a comment while we're live on the air as well, and have a little fun that way. So. And I definitely want to keep collaborating with you and with you guys. And I'd love to come back on again and have some more conversation with you.
Absolutely. All right, guys, have a great night. Sweet dreams. And thank you for tuning in to another edition of Late Night Thang with Calimity Jayne. Y'all take care and stay sweet.